As a Spectrum Internet customer, you get one line of unlimited mobile included for 1 year. Additional lines, just $30 each. Click, call, or visit a Spectrum store today.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
Sharon Tazwell, here's your Spectrum News in 90. Severe weather taking a deadly turn Friday after a storm ripped through a Kentucky community. Officials say at least one person died and several more injured, with at least 2 homes destroyed. The National Weather Service says a crew surveying found damage consistent with at least an EF2 tornado. And President Trump gave Elon Musk an Oval Office send-off Friday on his last day working for the administration. The president credited the billionaire with colossal change for his work leading the Department of Government Efficiency. However, critics say Musk fell short of his targets and struggled in the unfamiliar environment of Washington. Musk says the work by DOGE will continue.
DOGE team will only grow stronger over time, and I'm confident that over time we'll see $1 trillion of savings.
He stepped forward to put his very great talents into the service of our nation.
The Supreme Court Friday allowed the Trump administration to suspend a parole program that gave legal protections for 500,000 migrants to live and work in the U.S. It is the second time this month that the High Court sided with Trump's efforts to revoke the legal status for immigrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. The Supreme Court order is not a final ruling, but means protections will not be in place while the case proceeds. That's your Spectrum News in 90.
Welcome to The Big Deal. I'm Errol Lewis, national political anchor at Spectrum News. This program focuses on the future of our country and its people. With a new administration in the White House and a new Congress, we are exploring the new people and policies and power that are shaping the nation. This week, the big deal was President Donald Trump ramping up a campaign to limit the access of international students to American universities. Last month, the White House revoked thousands of international student visas without warning, but reversed course after legal challenges began to pile up. More recently, the White House canceled Harvard University's ability to enroll foreign students altogether, which a judge temporarily blocked on Thursday. And that's not all. This week, the State Department put a pause on all new student visa interviews and vowed to examine social media posts of students who are applying to study here. The department also said that it would, quote, aggressively start revoking student visas for Chinese citizens. Meanwhile, on Friday, the Supreme Court also cleared the way for the Trump administration to strip temporary legal protections from 500,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. We're going to discuss that more in a future episode. But first, here's the president commenting on why universities like Harvard, in his opinion, should place a cap on international students.
I think they should have a cap of maybe around 15%. Not 31%. We have people who want to go to Harvard and other schools. They can't get in because we have foreign students there.
Joining me now with more are 2 top political analysts. Tim Boyum is a political anchor for Spectrum News 1 in Raleigh, North Carolina. Alex Cohen is a political anchor for Spectrum News Plus, based in Los Angeles. And Alex, despite what the president just said, isn't the tuition paid by international students, at least the wealthy ones, what enables Harvard and other schools to provide free or reduced tuition to lower-income Americans?
Absolutely, Errol. You want to take a guess at what international students pay to go to Harvard? On average, we're talking about upwards of $10,000 per year. That's a lot of money that goes to things like paying for faculty and staff, subsidizing, as you mentioned, other students, American students. I think what's really interesting here when you're talking about Harvard, international students make up approximately a quarter of the student population. So if they were deprived of international students, that would be a real hit to the university. And this may, in fact, be what the administration is shooting for. We've often heard of them talk with disdain about the ivory tower and really said they want to see the focus more on trade schools, which I think it's probably pretty fair to assume international students would not be as keen to attend.
Tim, the White House is clearly attempting to restrict the number of foreign students studying here in the United States, but is that even possible? I mean, there are over 1 million who are here, and 277,000 of them are Chinese students pursuing higher education here. What is the State Department's argument for revoking their visas?
Yeah, well, first on the part of how it could happen, I think there's a lot of questions, even people working within government, about how that would look and would it be broad-based and how that would occur. But you know, I think the larger question is there's this concern, obviously, about the relationship between the United States and the Chinese government, and that's playing, you know, into this here. And you know, you talk about the concern about Chinese government-sponsored influence and federally funded research that's happening at universities and the technology that's coming out of some of that research. And so I think there's just a lack of concern. I think these Chinese students and others might argue that that's not the government doing that these Chinese students, but I think there's that lack of trust there. I mean, even in states like North Carolina, not students, but there's state laws being proposed about not allowing the Chinese government or Chinese nationals to own farmland in North Carolina. But as Alex mentioned there, it's a huge income source for these universities, these students. It also is a talent pipeline for U.S. tech companies. So it's complicated. It's not easy to just do it, as you mentioned in that first question about how it even be possible. Okay, so now, Alex, the State Department is preparing to require social media vetting for all foreign students who want to study here in America. It has paused new student visa application appointments in the meantime. You can't get an appointment. What would the department be screening for? And do foreigners have any free speech or privacy rights here?
Yeah, it's really unclear. We do not know specifically. In the past, they have vetted for things such as anti-Semitic statements, pro-Palestinian support, but it seems as if there's no real clear guidance for a process that is already quite complicated. Do foreign students have free speech here? I think the assumption has always been, yes, this is a free country, but that may be shifting. And the implications of this are really serious. As Tim mentioned, on various industries here in California, you know, our state budget is not looking real good right now. And without that international tuition, that could really put the whole industry at risk. And that has huge implications for all sorts of things.
Oh, yeah, interesting. So affecting the public system as well as the private schools. And Tim, this fight over international students marks the latest attack on Harvard in particular, which has already lost billions of dollars in federal funding. Almost 7,000 international students, making up a quarter of the student body. What would happen to those students if the ability to host foreign students is cut back?
Yeah, from my understanding, they were going to be told that you got to transfer, lose the status potentially, which would impact all those students. In fact, interestingly, Belgium's Princess is just wrapping up the first year as a student there as well. So there's some high-profile folks that would be potentially involved with this. And as Alex mentioned, you know, quarter of the students there are international students. And I think in the Kennedy School, that famous school there, it's some 60% are international students. I just talked to North Carolina's governor yesterday, actually, about this. He's a Harvard law grad as well, has got his master's in public policy there. He said part of what made him a better student then and as a governor now was being around all these different types of individuals and such smart people from all around the world. It made him more well-rounded. And so that's been his biggest problem with this. And many of these students are just staying put right now, afraid to leave the country because they won't be able to come back.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you, Alex. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, with federal programs like Social Security and Medicare under threat, we'll talk about how seniors are feeling about the Trump administration. That's next on The Big Deal.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Bring it to the party, bring it to the top, bring it to the party.
Enjoy, unwind, connect with Spectrum TV on Demand. From the latest hit movies you've been waiting to watch to your favorite comfort shows and more, all available instantly for you to stream. Create the all-around entertainment experience you've always wanted with Spectrum TV on Demand. Browse over 80,000 on-demand titles today.
Being a cowboy, well, I don't know anything different. I had a very successful career. Life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally. And then I got hurt. I dug into mental health. I wanted to be better as a person. I start my day with a workout. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
We are back with The Big Deal, where we're continuing our series on the evolving landscape of American voters. Today, we're going to focus on the most consistent and reliable voting bloc, and that's seniors. Republicans have enjoyed a clear advantage with Americans over the age of 65 for decades, meaning a majority of seniors over the last 2 decades, and that includes last year's election, with President Donald Trump winning seniors by 4 percentage points, similar to his margin in 2020. But millions of seniors across the nation rely heavily on federal programs like Social Security and Medicare, which are now facing cutbacks under the Trump administration. Spectrum News reporter Victoria Halakar takes a closer look at concerns surrounding Social Security in this report.
Roseanne Thielman depends on the Social Security benefits she gets for her late husband.
What would happen if you lose that money?
Well, then I would be out on the street.
But recently,
everybody's starting to go into panic mode.
She's keeping a close eye on changes the Trump administration and DOJ are making. That includes staffing cuts, office closures, and identity verification only being done online or in person, no phone option allowed. Questions she and other seniors have aren't getting clear answers.
People that are trying to call Social Security and they're on the phone for hours and they're not getting anyone, and even your councilmen and your political people I don't think are helping.
I'm very concerned.
Randy Hoke is the commissioner for Erie County Senior Services. They're doing outreach, but he says a lot of these changes will have a negative impact.
We're looking to take a chainsaw to bring efficiencies, and I know it's a tired cliche, but efficiencies are certainly achievable and necessary, but I would prefer a scalpel-like approach, because when you go into a government agency and try to bring too many changes, you're missing a few things.
Something echoed by Senator Chuck Schumer.
They can't outwardly cut benefits because that would be so unpopular. So they're trying to kill Social Security in another way, making it harder, sometimes next to impossible, to access your benefits.
Both note Social Security staffing was already at a 50-year low. There were also concerns over how long the funds would last without significant changes. These cuts could only exacerbate the issue, especially for those in rural areas or with physical or cognitive limitations.
A lot of folks depend on their Social Security income to pay for things like prescriptions and health care, food, rent. That's the worst case scenario. People are not able to cover their basic needs.
The Trump administration has pushed back, saying they will not cut Social Security benefits, just get rid of waste. Victoria Halakar, Spectrum News.
Joining me now with more on the senior vote is Beth Finkel, the state director of AARP New York. Beth, great to see you. And this summer marks the 90th anniversary since the Social Security Act was signed and the 60th anniversary of the creation of Medicare, which provides health care to seniors. Walk us through how these two federal programs keep seniors from falling into poverty.
Well, they're absolutely a lifeline. They are the basis of a secure retirement. For Social Security, 69 million older Americans are receiving Social Security right now. And another 183 Americans are paying into the system right now. They are relying upon the government. They are relying upon both political parties to make sure that it's there for them so that they can have a secure retirement. You know, for Social Security, it is, as you said, it's their 90th anniversary. They have never missed a payment. And for Medicare, it makes doctors care there for them, but it also makes it affordable care, which they might not have otherwise. So people who are older adults count on this. You know, I know that they talked about rent and everything else, but it's the bedrock. It's absolutely the bedrock of their secure retirement. And by the way, it's also, they are both among the most popular programs the United States has ever had.
On the other side of the ledger, the bill that just passed in the House of Representatives also includes an added $4,000 deduction for Americans aged 65 or older, with seniors with income of less than $75,000 or $150,000 for a couple. They, in effect, would get a full tax break on their Social Security income. I imagine that's probably good news for seniors.
Yes, absolutely. The idea of paying a tax on Social Security actually came into being when President Reagan in 1983 was figuring out the way to make sure that Social Security stayed secure. And so they put the tax on for Social Security. You're absolutely right. Older adults would welcome the idea of not having to pay taxes on their Social Security.
So we've got a big midterm election coming up next year. Regardless of party affiliation, older voters are the most likely to show up at the polls. How should the parties and future leaders be approaching seniors as we head into these midterms?
But they better be listening to them closely, because you're so right. You know, Errol, last year in the presidential primary in 2024, right here in New York, 72% of all the voters that went to the poll for that primary, 72% were 50 years and older. And in 2022, that number was 63% of all voters. And we know that 50 and older make up way over 50% of the voters nationally. So come rain, come shine, come on your elections, off your elections, presidential elections, midterm elections, they're going to be out there and they're going to be voting, and they're listening very closely. They want assurances from both political parties, from all candidates, that their Social Security will be there for them, their Medicare will be there for them.
And so in our last minute, when we see offices being closed, when we see people being laid off, and the basic operations of Social Security in particular maybe being changed, I imagine that's a source of concern. As far as you can tell, does that amount to a reduction of services, the different changes that we're seeing?
Anything that people feel that threatens their Social Security, any of those changes are real, and they create real confusion for older adults. AARP was very against any of the proposed changes that were proposed earlier this year. And in fact, we worked very hard to make sure that the administration rescinded those ideas, because the idea that people would have to go into a actual physical site to get themselves recertified or certified for Social Security, they would no longer be able to do it on the telephone. That was a real threat. People having to be on the phone for hours on end, which actually was the case, was unacceptable. So you're absolutely right. We have to understand that Social Security is not a partisan issue. Social Security is the American issue for right now.
Okay. Thank you very much, Beth Finkel. We're not done just yet. Coming up next, we'll bring you a report from the newest city in Texas. It's called Starbase, and it's home to Elon Musk's rocket launch company, SpaceX. Stay with The Big Deal.
For the millions of school-age children across the country, the state of their schools can have a lasting impact on their health and well-being.
The majority of school districts aren't doing comprehensive regular water quality testing.
As CO2 levels rise in a space, cognitive function takes a direct decline.
We visit 2 school districts working to create safe and healthy environments for their students.
Watch Exploring Your Health, Curing Our Classrooms. Available on the Spectrum News app.
Look at this.
Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. Everything that's wonderful is what I feel when we're together. Oh, that was funny.
It's all about connecting with seamless connectivity. And internet customers get 1 mobile line included for 1 year with Spectrum.
What are you doing in there?
What's that?
I wouldn't do that. What are you doing? What are you looking for?
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
I think the Doge team is doing an incredible job. They're going to continue doing an incredible job, and I'll continue to be visiting here and be a friend and advisor to the president.
You are watching The Big Deal. Elon Musk, the billionaire industrialist, says that his time at the White House has officially come to an end as he shifts his focus back to his business empire. That includes the rocket launch company SpaceX, which officially got a new home in South Texas earlier this month. It's a city called Starbase. This new municipality was approved by a small group of voters who live there and are mostly Elon Musk's employees at SpaceX. Musk's rocket program is under contract with the Department of Defense and NASA, and he hopes to send astronauts back to the moon and someday to Mars through this company. Musk was at Starbase this week to oversee a high-stakes rocket test. The Starlink rocket lost control in space. It suffered a leak and disintegrated, marking the company's 3rd consecutive setback. Spectrum News reporter Adolfo Muniz joins me now with more on SpaceX, and he's located there in Starbase City in Texas. Good to see you, Adolfo. We don't see new cities very often. What has the local reaction been to this new municipality?
Errol, you're right about that. We're not seeing new cities often, but the particularity of this one is the first one in the history of mankind that is supposedly built for space. And people here in South Texas, especially here in the Rio Grande Valley and close to Brownsville, many of them really don't know what to think. Many are excited about the way this is going to impact the whole area. They expect that it's going to bring a lot of progress and more economic opportunities. But there are many, many others that are very against the presence of SpaceX and Elon Musk in this area. It went from Elon Musk being almost a local hero. The community had embraced him. And suddenly, and little by little, it started changing, and many are very, very opposed. Many don't like the fact that now I am standing in Starbase. They feel this should be a natural reserve of wildlife, as it used to be, Errol.
Well, if they're going to meet the plans that we've heard announced, there's going to be a lot of construction going on, right? They're going to build housing, retail, and even a school.
That is absolutely right. In fact, as this moment as we are talking, there's a lot of construction going on. There's every time more developments, habitational developments. They're building also, they say, a school, even a shopping mall. But you see, the particularity of this city, once you look at it, is very stretched out. I am very close to Boca Chica Beach right now. As you can see, the testing facility is right behind me. Well, this city kind of goes all the way of State Highway 4 in a very long stretch that includes people who are not employees of SpaceX and who were already living here. Now, there's going to be a new meeting soon about the planning and zoning department, and many of them don't know if they're even going to be able to be living here. But the fact is that, yes, there's a lot of construction going on, and the city is really starting to take shape.
Well, I mean, so there's the construction and development, and then the Federal Aviation Administration recently gave SpaceX permission to increase the number of launches from Starbase from 5 to 25 every year. That's every other week, which I imagine would be somewhat disruptive as well.
It is very disruptive. In fact, not only because this highway gets closed every time there is a launch, but the fact that in towns nearby, such as Port Isabel and even all the way to San Benito, you can hear the blast of this rocket. And I'm telling you, this rocket makes the ground tremble. It's super strong. I was in Port Isabel recently, and I could see the houses shake. So that's something that is also it's a very hot topic issue for a lot of residents, that they don't like the fact that this rocket is so big and it's so dangerous. For many of them, they say, in fact, there is an industrial development not far from here where they store gasoline and other inflammable liquids. And you can tell many people are really nervous about that. And now that's going to be 25 a year. There used to be only 9. People are really, many of them getting angry, you know.
And what is the goal of all of this? What is Elon Musk's goal with this rocket program?
Well, plain and simply, Elon Musk wants to take us to Mars, wants to take mankind first to Mars and then to other planets. And that's really interesting, too. I spoke recently to an astronomer and former astronaut who told me that his focus and the way he approaches all of this is very different than what NASA does. Basically, what they do is launch rockets one after the other, and whatever works or doesn't work, then they repeat it or they cut it. Basically, a trial and error processing that the rockets keep on going up, many keep on blowing up. They call it a rapid disassembly. So they're not really sure that it's really that effective or that is desirable. His focus is for the mission to Mars to be as soon as 2026.
Adolfo Muñiz, thank you so much for joining us with that update. And we thank all of you for joining us for this episode of The Big Deal. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned to your local station.
Friday nights, The Big Deal with Errol Lewis, where Spectrum News' local political journalists break down the most important issues shaping our nation.
Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
It's game time at the arena, and 20,000 fans are looking for a win. With an ultra-high-speed network and seamless Wi-Fi, fans can get in the door fast and share the game's best moments in real time. And with Spectrum Business committed to keeping them connected 100% of the time, they won't miss a second of the action. A secure, reliable connection from Spectrum Business means the fan experience is a guaranteed win.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times powerful. And it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app. Spectrum News Plus. Local stories,